Bangwanani Mwalelepo, Vukenjani, Klekos, Wanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know, transpiring on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenn Orashipura. How are you, Glenn?
I am very happy for you.
Okay, for me, you're not just
I am very happy for you.
Yes.
Like, honestly, over the weekend,
Yes.
you crossed the threshold from a boy to a man. You paid the labola.
Yes.
You did the things
It's
that
giving
must be
Mr.
done.
Berry.
It's giving Mr. Berry.
Oh,
right
okay,
now.
I can live with it. Thank you, Glenn.
Getting into what we can expect in today's broadcast. Tanzania signs major carbon credit deal covering national parks. Guinea-Bissau president says this week's violence was an attempted coup. Somalian president welcomes end of UN arms embargo. Later on in the show, we'll be talking to Talent Gore, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in Zimbabwe. We'll also be crossing over to Ari Hohat, who'll be filling us in on the latest in the sporting news. Do stay tuned for these and more on Africa Good Morning.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the 15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
All right, let's get straight into our top stories. Tanzania has signed a deal for one of East Africa's biggest land-based carbon credit projects. The project covers 6 national parks spanning 1.8 million hectares. Tanzania, which has forest resources of nearly 48 million hectares, has emerged as one of the leading African players in the global carbon credit trade. It comes as world leaders are in Dubai for the COP28 summit aimed at finding ways to tackle climate change. Now, carbon credits work like this. An organization that pollutes can buy a credit which is worth 1 ton of carbon dioxide. The money paid by the organization is meant to go towards carbon lowering schemes. So for every ton of carbon dioxide emitted, the credit represents a ton of CO2 that was captured.
That sounds like a step in the right direction. Moving on into our next story, gunfire and clashes that erupted in the capital of Guinea-Bissau this week were an attempted coup. President Umaro Sissoco Embalo has said clashes between the National Guard and special forces of the Presidential Guard broke out in Bissau on Thursday night and continued on Friday after National Guard soldiers freed 2 senior government officials who were detained on a corruption investigation. The unrest in the tiny West African nation left at least 2 people dead. Embalo, who was in Dubai attending the COP28 climate conference, arrived in Bissau on Saturday and said an attempted coup had prevented him from returning. I must tell you, this act will have serious consequences, he added.
Now, Somalia's president welcomed Friday's decision by the UN Security Council to fully lift an arms embargo on the Somalian government while maintaining a ban on sales to the country's Islamist militants. Now, the United Nations in 1992 imposed an embargo on all arms deliveries to Somalia, though in recent years the Security Council has eased restrictions on sales to the central government. From now on, our country is free to purchase any sort of weapon we want from the world, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud said in a declaration late on Friday. Weapons in government hands will not pose a threat to our people and to the world. Friday's UN decision maintained the embargo on supplying weapons to the Islamist Al-Shabaab and other rebel groups. This decision comes at a very crucial time as a nation and people, since we are in a war to eliminate Karashia's Al-Shabaab from the country, the National Intelligence and Security Agency said in a statement.
In our next story, Madagascar's constitutional court on Friday backed Andry Rajoelina's victory in a presidential election, rejecting opposition complaints of fraud. The court said Rajoelina secured 59% of the vote on November 16th, winning a second straight term without the need for a runoff. Turnout was barely 46% of the electorate, the court confirmed, as it validated the Electoral Commission's results. 11 opposition candidates have already said they will not recognize the results, alleging the election was riddled with irregularities. 10 boycotted the vote in protest. Now, political tensions have been running high in the country for months, Two Madagascar's army colonels were charged this week with inciting a mutiny before the election. Army Chief William Michael Andrea Messimana later said the military was committed to respecting the election's results.
Now, a prison inmate in the United States has been charged with the attempted murder in the stabbing of Derek Chauvin, the former police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd. Chauvin was attacked last month in the law library of the Federal Correctional Institution in Tucson, Arizona. John Tersak, a former gang member serving a 30-year sentence, stabbed Chauvin 22 times and said he would have killed Chauvin if correctional officers had not responded so quickly, federal prosecutors said on Friday. Now, Tersak told FBI agents that he attacked Chauvin on Black Friday to invoke the Black Lives Matter movement, which drew attention to racism and police brutality in the wake of George Floyd's death. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Now, in Zimbabwe, a car accident is recorded every 15 minutes. More on this and other stories after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
All right, so it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore. How are you, Talent?
I'm all right. How are you, Ashwin? How are you, Dad?
I'm fine, and Glenora as well. Now, of course, an early gift to Dula has been South Africa's government extending the ZEP holders, giving them a 2-year reprieve. Tell us more about that.
Yes, Zimbabweans living in South Africa have breathed a sigh after the South African government has said that their Zimbabwe exempted permits will expire after 2 years. Apparently, this comes after some Zimbabweans who were actually in South Africa came back home thinking that their ZEMS permits were going to expire. So now are going to have their ZEMS expire in November 2025. In addressing the media, South African Home Affairs Minister Aaron Motsoaledi confirmed the latest development. He said that the government had decided to grant exemption to approximately 178,000 Zimbabwean nationals for a period of 2 years in terms of Section 32B of the Immigration Act of 2006. The affected Zimbabwean nationals will be entitled to apply for new permits at the following terms and conditions. A holder of the exemption permit will be entitled to work, seek employment, and conduct business in the Republic of South Africa during that period of exemption. So Zimbabweans who are already in South Africa and who have exemption permits can employment and they can do their business whilst they're still in South Africa, but their permits that are going to expire in 2025, and we have to hear if they have to renew or if they're going to be sent back to Zimbabwe by the South African government.
Yes, of course. It's almost like they're Pan-African, and I love to see that indeed. Talent, do you think any of this might affect, I know we're talking about Zimbabwe, but do you think any of this might affect the South African political landscape? You know, considering things like Operation Dudula, do you anticipate that perhaps some kind of violence could stem from this? It's happened before.
Yeah, it has happened, and we can't outrule that. So there's a possibility that these South Africans might actually retaliate, and they might attack Zimbabweans in particular, because this has been happening, and we think, and we don't want that to happen, but we foresee that happening because it has happened before, and we can't outrule that when it comes to South Africans.
Well, I definitely hope it doesn't happen. Now, getting into your next story, the 22nd edition of the International Conference in AIDS and STI in Africa rolls into Harare.
Yes, well, apparently all is set for the international conference on AIDS and STIs in Africa, which is starting today. Apparently, it will run from today for December up until the 9th of December, and more than 5,000 delegates are expected to be attending the conference. This is the second time that Zimbabwe is hosting the international conference on AIDS and STIs in Africa, having held the same event in 2015, and this time that Zimbabwe is hosting such a big event. And also this comes after Zimbabwe achieved the HIV and AIDS goals, which are 95, 95, 95. Apparently 95 for viral load suppression, 95 people who are on ATR, and also 95. So you find out that this comes at a very big time in Zimbabwe. We are celebrating those gains that we have achieved in trying to contain, in trying to suppress HIV and AIDS. So more than 5,000 delegates are expected to be in Harare as of today up until the 9th of December. Also, there are some pre-events that have actually happened in Victoria Falls on Saturday. There was the First Ladies Conference, whereby the First Ladies were meeting and talking about the achievements and what has to be done when it comes to HIV and AIDS. So scientists, researchers are going to be meeting in Harare from the 4th today up until the 9th of December.
Oh, that is actually very relieving, considering that our head of health, Constantine Chiwenga, is a soldier. It's good to see the scientists there to give us that advice and, of course, to roll out this conference. Now, on a sad note, I'm sure you heard the story of the permanent secretary's daughter, Kundai Manungo, who had a car accident this weekend. She was actually a childhood friend of mine. And in your report today, Zimbabwe actually records a car accident every 15 minutes.
Yes, apparently, in a sad note, a road accident occurs in Zimbabwe every 15 minutes, with most of such incidents attributed to reckless driving, inadequate enforcement of traffic laws, and use of defensive vehicles, among other factors. According to the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe, 14,600 people died and 74,000 were injured in road traffic accidents between 2015 and 2022. In the first 9 months of this year, over 1,500 fatalities were recorded from more than 38,400 accidents countrywide. In total, over 3,200 people were injured in those road traffic accidents. So the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe Managing Director, Mr. Munesu Munodawafa, said that most road traffic accidents occurred during public holidays. He also said that it was disturbing that as of September 30 this year, we had recorded 38,482 road accidents, a total of 1,545 deaths and 7,294 injuries on our roads. This is actually between September 30 and December 1 this year. He also said that these numbers were quite worrisome, and putting that into context, we have a road traffic accident in every 15 minutes in Zimbabwe, which is quite worrisome and sad.
Absolutely. And of course, you know, the quality of the roads is certainly something to really keep in mind with regard to all of that. And we hope those numbers can go down, if not obviously disappear. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for bringing us the news stories as they are from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
So it's good having you on Africa. Good morning. We walked into some rain, some light showers.
Yeah, it was very hard to wake up today morning.
Very cozy weather. Let's see what the rest of the predictions say.
to another exciting episode of Wat Toby Jolie.
Dis die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik gaan byt.
Now, heading straight into our economic news stories, Angola is not keen to reduce its oil production in line with the proposed quota by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries because the country needs to grow its economy. The position by Angola, a member of OPEC for the last 16 years, was communicated by the country's Energy and Mineral Resources Minister Diamantino Pedro Azevedo after the 26th OPEC Plus oil producers meeting. A 1.11 million barrels of crude oil per day production quota was proposed for Angola.
In our next story, Nigeria's naira dropped to a record low against the dollar on Friday on the official market, close to the rate at which it trades on the unofficial parallel market. The currency of Africa's biggest economy fell as low as 1,160 naira to the dollar, LSEG data showed, before recovering to around 800 naira. The naira's official exchange rate has been drifting towards the parallel market level as the central bank is yet to clear outstanding foreign currency amounts owed in forward deals.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We're going to dive into the indicators just before Ari Hochad comes through with the sport. All right, it's time for us to talk to Ari Hochad, who's definitely ready to talk to us because I just heard him clearing his throat. Ari, how's it going, Ari?
Yes, very good morning. Yes, I need to sound a little bit better. It's early morning. You guys have been talking to each other. I've not had many conversations this early in the morning.
That's fair, Ari. Now, of course, you know, over the weekend on Saturday, Arsenal managed to beat the Wolves 2-1. And as everybody knows, that their pure motivation on the day was the fact that I was paying Lobola. Please give us the rest of the stories.
Yeah, that's one to remember, isn't it? You can make a screenshot of this one and keep it for the rest of your life. This was a special day, leading 33 points. That's the facts on the table. League points after 14 games. That's Arsenal leading. And like you said, that's the win against Wolverhampton. And 2 points clear of Liverpool. Liverpool that had a tough win against Fulham at home. Had to score 2 late goals, but they earned 31 points. But it's Arsenal leading. They're celebrating the goal. And it's a great performance for them now. 3 points clear of Manchester City, probably or definitely their biggest challenge in the title race, the Manchester City defending champions. And they dropped points at home against Tottenham Hotspur. And that was 3-3 that game ended. Lots of goals all over the English Premier League, good quality of football, so it was very exciting. And it was also some of the other games I can quickly mention. Aston Villa dropped points at Bournemouth. And then it was Newcastle with a very important win at home for them against Manchester United. and that means that it's Newcastle in 6th position, 26 points, and Man United dropping out of the top 6, going to 7th position on 24. So lots of great English football to still come. December, always an important month for all of them. But let's move on to the rugby. Also great news for South African Blitzbok. They had a dreadful season last year. That's first rugby that was Stedman Guns. It's a Bulls that had an impressive 44-10 win. That was against the Sharks in the United Rugby Championship. So a great win for the Bulls. They play against Saracens though in the European Cup competition this coming weekend, but Bulls showing great form. Stormers also winning in Stellenbosch. It was a good win for them. Also back to winning ways, scoring a try there, 31-7, that win against the Zebra of Italy. So, but the Blitzboks, the story of South Africa this morning, the Blitzboks winning in Dubai. It's their 5th consecutive title in Dubai. They had a dreadful season last year, didn't win any tournaments, apologies, and they now champions again. Leading up to Cape Town this coming weekend, it's a big party in Cape Town. It's the Cape Town Sevens this coming weekend, and that's the Blitzboks celebrating their win in Dubai, beating Argentina in the final 12-7. Argentina beat one of the favorites, Fiji, in the semi-final, and South Africa beat, Argentina beat New Zealand in the semi-final. South Africa beat Fiji in the semi-final, so a great result for the Blitzboks. Also briefly, golf. It is Dean Burmaster from South Africa. Well, he's officially a South African. Ashwin, you will appreciate he's from Mutare. I think you pronounce it Mutare. He's born in Mutare in Zimbabwe, so you can proudly say that it's a win for South Africa and Zimbabwe. It is Dean Burmaster winning the South African Open, a great victory for him. He's playing on the Live Golf Initiative, that breakaway league, so it's great for him to play in this tournament. Winning back-to-back, also winning last week the SA or the Joburg Open, so winning 2 consecutive tournaments on the DP World European Tour. Also great news, Ashley Buhai, South Africa. She defended the Australian Open title. Great performance by Ashley Buhai of South Africa. So great victories all around for South African golfers, and it's great to see. And just finishing off with women's golf again, it is Bangladesh touring South Africa. They played the first T20 in Benoni, Willamore Park. A great win for Bangladesh. They won that game by 13 runs. They're playing the second T20. They will play in Kimberley. That will be on Wednesday. I think that's Annika Bosch scoring or hitting the ball there. She made good run 67, but in vain, Bangladesh winning that game by 13 runs in Benoni. So lots of sports happened over the weekend. If you joined us late, Arsenal leading the points table in the English Premier League by 33 points to 31 from Liverpool. Great weekend for Arsenal in the football. Have a great sport weekend and enjoy the moment, Ashwin.
I certainly will enjoy the moment. Just to be fair, I did enjoy the moment last year for maybe, what was it, like 30 weeks, and at the end of it, it didn't end well. But cheers to the elephant on top of the tree. Those have been our sports stories. We'll be back with the highlights.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with the entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
All right, let's quickly head into the highlights on Africa Good Morning. Tanzania signs a major carbon credit deal covering national parks. And Guinea-Bissau president says this week's violence was an attempted coup.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning. From me, Glenn Orashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Suraj Jaganaka.